We have a buyer for the boat. Woohoo! So we've been trying to sell the boat for a couple months. We're under contract now. I gotta go over to Culebra and sign the paperwork, but all under contract. And yeah, so hopefully he follows through and does the full purchase. We're delivering it to St. Thomas for him, which is, we went from Crash Boat over the last couple days, and we've just been sailing straight through every day, doing little half days, and made it over here, and now we're just 25 miles from the anchorage that he wants to pick it up. So we're gonna hang out and have one more birthday on the boat.
My birthday! I'm gonna turn 28 on the boat. I've spent the last 2 birthdays. This will be the 3rd birthday on boats, sailboats. The first one was on a charter down in Mexico that Eddie got for me, and then last year it was up in the Bahamas, and this year it will probably be in St. Thomas. That's cool. U.S. Virgin Islands, Mexico, Bahamas, U.S. Virgin Islands.
Heck yeah.
That's a pretty cool way to ring in a new year.
My kind of birthdays. So that's the 21st, it's the 6th, like I said, so we got a little bit of time to say our goodbyes to just friends, and I'm probably going to start crying if I think about it too much. We've been crying all morning.
We've been crying all morning. It's sad. Gotta drop our best friend off.
But yeah, so we're happy to have a bar though, at least. At least she'll have more adventures. That's good news. I'm not crying, you're crying. Anyways, so we're gonna deliver the boat over to St. Thomas. Emily's pretty choked up about it.
I'm really choked up about it.
So we're gonna deliver the boat over to St. Thomas for the new guy, the new owner. And his plan is to get down to Grenada, so he's gonna have to beeline to Grenada to avoid hurricanes, but should be no problem for him. So we're gonna drop off at the boat probably on the 25th, so and try to take in the beauty that is the boat, and yeah, so we're gonna enjoy the last couple weeks we have on the boat. And oh, Emily accepted a job offer to Switzerland.
Oh, that's
so
right,
we're
yeah.
moving to Thun, a little Swiss village that we'll probably end up living in. She's got to do immigration processes and things, so we'll be able to get off the boat. Glad to be getting it sold and not having it rot in a boatyard as most boats do. So real happy about that. And then we'll be seeing family and moving to Switzerland, so should be fun.
We are currently we're on Culebra, and we're gonna walk into town. It's about an hour walk each way. 7 a.m. We were hoping to get an early start so that it's not insufferably hot. We're gonna walk into town to try and get it printed. One of us is already sweating a lot. It's me.
So we're gonna go to shore, and then I'm gonna paddle back so that we can leave the dinghy on the boat and no one messes with it while we're gone. Let's go sell our boat.
Whee!
Closed coffee shop.
What's the coffee shop? This is Black Flamenco, right? Black Flamenco coffee.
Flamenco.
It's actually really good, so if you're ever in Culebra, you should definitely come here.
We came here last time and the guy was super sweet.
We loved it, but now all we can do is just stare longingly at the espresso machines. So we're gonna go over to a bakery and see if they have any good donuts for us to eat.
We're gonna go get a donut, and then we're gonna go to the post office and hopefully print this form and sign it.
We're almost there. We walked about an hour and it wasn't bad.
Not too bad.
No, not at all. It's nice that it's so early. Anyway, let's go get it printed.
Where
are we? Where are we?
Getting some coffee.
How is it?
It's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. It's cheap. It's nice. So we're gonna go over to the store and print it out and sign it.
The last like 3 weeks that we have left on the boat, we're just pretty much gonna be crying every morning.
We've done a lot of crying, so
More crying to come.
more crying, promise.
What are we doing?
Gone to 4 places, no documents. We're going to City Hall, so we can print it there.
Okay, let's go.
per usual. Everything takes like 4 hours.
Yeah, nothing's easy on a boat. Everyone says there's nowhere in town that can print, but we are determined to find the one nice person who will print for us. We already tried the post office and no dice. So now we try City Hall. Let's see. Woohoo!
Signed it. All good. Sent it over to Chris, so I'm gonna call him here in a minute and hopefully we sold the boat.
Yeah, well, it's signed, so I think we sold it. It's at least under contract. We'll believe it when we see the color of the money, honestly. Yeah. But it's signed. We found somewhere to print it. Printed it at City Hall. That's good.
We've been crying a lot. We just talked to the new buyer of the boat. We're sad.
I don't want to get off it.
I don't want you. Can't get me off. Can't make me do it. We're gonna go peep some fish, do some flips. We're at Calle Luis Peña or something like that. Over here on Culebra. And last couple days on the boat, we're gonna hang out, go to Colabrita, and then drop the boat off and say goodbye.
You gotta zip up.
Oh, I gotta zip up. I gotta change in my pockets.
He always has change in his pocket. And then he falls asleep on the couch and all the quarters just start falling down. And then he scares himself awake to the sound.
No, it was all lies, all lies.
Had a really lovely little dive. We swam off the back of the boat here, just jumped in and swam around, and then we swam all the way over there towards those rocks. And while we were swimming, Eddie and I went up to the surface just to have a little conversation with each other, and we're like, oh wow, that left a really big dent. Anyway, we were like treading water just with our fins flipping underwater, and we were talking to each other. And I put my head back in the water after we were finished talking to each other, and I started screaming because I saw that there was a shark around. Oh, what? Am I not angled right? I started screaming because I saw that there was a shark swimming around Eddie's feet and his flippers and his legs, and I couldn't. It all happened so quickly. As soon as I started screaming, either Eddie kicked the shark in the head, or
I kicked that shark in the head,
or he heard me. That's the second squid we caught today. Woo! Now we can have a squid actual full meal.
Yeah.
Squid black bean spaghetti is apparently really good too.
Oh, I should have saved it. I just pumped it all out because I was trying to get rid of it.
That's okay. I'm kind of grossed out by it.
First time catching a squid?
First time catching a squid. We've taken a couple pot shots, but they are so fast.
Yeah.
And the ink is crazy. It's such a distraction. It's such an effective distraction because if you shoot and then they ink,
Can't
it's
see 'em at
really
all.
hard to tell if you got it. I honestly didn't know you had this.
Me either.
Did
I
you?
was I was like, I think I got him.
I kind of
but-
fully expected you to miss it, which is funny because he was right here.
Hey, what does that mean?
Can we try so many times?
I've tried quite a few times. I've never gotten any.
I've tried too.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess we're just Googling now how to process it, but
But we're gonna make calamari a la plancha,
a la plancha.
which is where it's fried, or excuse me, it's pan-seared, right?
Yeah, pan-seared instead of
Yeah.
like normal calamari is breaded and deep fried. You can't really taste it. And when we were in Fernandina Beach, we got a great a la plancha. So we're gonna.
Where was that? I don't remember that.
Fernandina Beach,
Yeah, but I don't
España.
España, yeah. There's a really good restaurant, España, in Fernandina Beach, and they do calamari a la plancha. And we were
Real good.
inspired. And so now we have fresh squid. I don't think it gets much better.
Yeah.
I do want to make sure that we process it right though, because I think if you process it wrong, it can be really tough. When we
Yeah, mess it up.
It can be like 2.
Yeah. All right, let's time lapse it.
On the boat. And what are you up to? All we see is a bright light.
All I'm doing is fixing shit 24/7.
Even on the last night of the boat,
That's right,
fixing
Cameron.
shit in here.
I'll show you what I'm doing.
So we've got the windlass here. Is this contraption? It's the winch for the chain. Feed tube for the anchor chain snapped on us. So it's nothing but easy work in tight spaces with fiberglass falling in my eyes. Yeah, time to sell the boat. I'm done with it. It's a little much. What are you doing, baby?
You're lying. We just went upstairs right before this. We were upstairs and we were crying our eyes out watching the last sunset from the boat.
It was fiberglass in my eyes.
It was really sad. And we constantly wonder whether we made the right choice in selling it. Then we see predicted hurricane. There's a predicted hurricane coming through this area.
When is it coming?
On the 24th, and today's the 15th. So, and we're selling the boat tomorrow. So lucky.
Perfect.
And then Eddie comes downstairs after crying and he gets sawdust in his eyes. And he's like, you know what? Never mind.
Okay.
Time to go. But we will miss it.
Time to go home.
Chaos that we're currently in. We've got all of our bags half packed up back here. We've got 2 checked bags and then my carry-on. And we're leaving a lot of stuff behind for the guy who's buying the boat, which is really nice, so we don't have to clear out all the stuff, leave all of the spare parts and everything. But yeah, a lot of amazing memories were made here. And it's kind of sad to see it in such a state of disarray. Guess where we are?
Switzerland!
Switzerland!
Not Sweden.
Sweet, sweet Swissa.
We first went to Sweden, and then we went to work, and then it wasn't work because Switzerland and Sweden are 2 different places.
What?
Every
I
time
think that was a really bad joke.
It was a
about
bad
the fact
joke.
That was
A really
terrible
bad joke. A bad joke. A
Every
lot of people.
time we like told people where we were going, or even including my brothers, they'll regularly call me and be like, "Hey, how's Sweden?" And I'm like, "I think it's good, but I'm not there. I'm in
Different country.
Switzerland." It's a totally different country. But anyway,
So
we live in Switzerland now, and we were just rewatching some of that footage from the. And
we live in Toontown.
we live in Thun, a gorgeous little town on Lake Thunersee, which is just across from Interlaken, and it sucks so much. Don't ever visit here. Always visit Interlaken.
Yeah,
Interlaken
Interlaken's
is
the best.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You should go to Interlaken. Don't come to Thun. Please don't come to Thun.
Please don't come here. Leave us alone. We don't want it to look like Interlaken.
But
We're
anyway.
the only Americans allowed to be here, actually. That's what they said.
We're barely allowed to be here.
Barely, yeah.
But anyway, so we sold the boat and we decided to accept jobs in Switzerland.
Yep.
So while we were living on the boat, I interviewed for multiple different positions, and luckily the job market was in my favor at that time, so I got a bunch of different offers, and I just happened to randomly apply to this job in Switzerland. It was the only job abroad that I applied to. All the other roles were remote roles because we were thinking maybe we'd take a remote job and stay on the boat. But then we got the job offer in Switzerland, and we were dripping sweat on the boat, and we looked at each other and we were like, you know what? Switzerland sounds pretty nice.
Yeah. Our other plan was to work remote, and so get remote jobs, stay on the boat, and then take the boat to Panama for hurricane season.
Really glad we did not.
Yeah,
do
we
that.
saw a bunch of videos and pictures of
So
people
many
in
people
Panama.
just, I mean, our boat was leaking a little bit through the hatches already.
It was leaking everywhere.
Every time it rained,
Yeah.
and we like had little pots set up to try and catch the rain. And so I'm really glad we didn't do that because rainy season, it would have been rainy season in Panama.
Yeah.
Eddie had a firm rule that we were not allowed to get off the boat until we sold the boat, which is a very good rule.
That's what we did.
An excellent rule, actually, now in context.
Yeah, and we actually just found out today that it was wrecked in a hurricane.
Tropical storm, which
Tropical
is worse,
storm,
actually.
yeah.
A tropical
So
storm.
it
because
was on
it's
a
preventable.
mooring, and it got broken off the mooring.
He did what Eddie said not to do. He left
Yeah.
the boat and went back to the U.S.
I think
mainland.
he had some medical issues he had to do and family stuff, but yeah. you
Regardless,
should
the boat
never
got
leave your boat.
destroyed because
Yeah.
he left the boat on a mooring ball in a tropical storm, and it got completely destroyed, which is very sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eddie had a rule we could never leave the boat for this reason,
Mm-hmm.
and so it would have been us living on the boat through hurricane season while working remote jobs, which was okay.
People do it, but it's
But we have friends who were doing it, and they recommended against it in the end. So we ended up deciding to try and do a different adventure,
Yeah,
which is why
so
we
now
accepted
we're
the roles in Switzerland.
living in Europe.
And I feel super lucky to get a job
Yeah.
offer, especially as a U.S. citizen.
And it's always been a
gorgeous.
dream of Emily's to
I've always wanted to live in Europe
Yeah.
or live abroad at least for some period of time. And it's a lot better than going back. I think it would have been difficult to go back to the U.S. after
yeah.
living on the boat.
I think going from the boat and then the grand adventure of living on the boat and then just going straight home would have been
Pretty brutal.
Brutal and depressing. So
Yeah.
instead we're living in Europe.
The adventure continues.
Adventure continues. Part 2.
Part 2.
uh,
I'm really happy that we live here. And it's very sad to say goodbye to the boat. It was really hard to say goodbye to sweet little Just Friends. Even harder now that I know she was destroyed in a storm. I mean, I don't think she'll ever sail again. So overall, we did really well, like Eddie said. And we bought the boat and managed to, this is classic Eddie moves, but we managed to sell the boat for a little bit more than we got it for, which never happens because it's a depreciating asset. I mean, it's like sinking.
Yeah.
Every year it's sinking a little bit more. But we managed to make a little bit of money on it, which is great. We didn't.
And all of the expenses, all the maintenance, all of even the new inverter and everything else we put into it, we probably about broke even on the whole trip.
It's funny, living on the ocean was dirt cheap. I would really recommend it. I remember setting aside like a certain amount of money for it, and I ended up using about half the amount of money that I set aside for the whole year, which is crazy.
If you're going to buy a boat, buy it right. Don't be in a rush, and make sure not to overpay.
Eddie's motto is underpay. Undercut them until they're basically crawling and begging for your money, and then you give them 10 grand.
Pretty much.
Tell them to go fuck themselves.
It's pretty much what we did. We bought a boat that the motor wasn't working, none of the electronics were working.
You have to make some sacrifices. You have to be an engineer. You have to have, if you're going to buy a boat, have an Eddie or be an Eddie. That's the only answer. Otherwise, I wouldn't recommend it.
10 out of 10, yeah. My biggest advice for anyone looking at buying boats, liveaboard boats in particular, is list it the day you buy it. List it for some ridiculous amount of money.
And see if you can get it bought out from underneath you,
Yeah,
and then buy a better boat.
Yeah, exactly. So if you buy it
that's
well,
probably what we'll do again.
and then list it high, and then you can just wait. You know, if no one buys it, then that's not a big deal. So, yeah.
But anyway, great advice. Thanks, Eddie, for the boat advice.
No problem.
If anyone wants to buy a boat, and if you want to move to Switzerland, get a job.
Get a job in Switzerland. Should be easy.
It's very expensive. In contrast to living on the boat for a year, especially.
Very expensive.
Everything everyone says about Switzerland is very, very
Yeah, we're hiking and doing all sorts of adventures and traveling, so.
living our best lives.
Best lives!
So
Swiss
this
lives.
part 2 of our videos that we make will be documenting our lives here in Switzerland.
Yeah.
In sweet, sweet Swissa.
Sweet Swissa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful, and I'm excited to share it.
Hey!
Yeah.